Alright guys, such coming here again today. Hope you're doing good and enjoying your day so far. Some more roster developments last night, but also some questions on where the teams are going to line up going into next season, especially the ReeaL Falcons. They've paid some serious money to get Selim on their team. The same true for Pred last year, but ZooMaa reckons that actually Xniz might be the player on that team who is the second most raw talent when it comes to gun skill. Is this disrespect to Pred? What do we think about this assessment? Very much into your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. Lots to get into today as always. I didn't watch this game last night because it was like 4 in the morning my time. I wasn't going to watch it anyway, to be fair. But there was a bit of talk about this anyway. Not the first time in the last few years that Toronto have lost a 5-4. If you guys watch the Cold War season, you may remember that one. Couple of updates around the world of COD. This is one of them. So, the Call of Duty movie, I'm sure that whatever they come out with is probably not going to be that good. But they are talking about it still. There was talk that Steven Spielberg wanted to do it. They told him no, he wanted more creative control. It looks like Taylor Sheridan and Peter Berg are going to do it. Now, I think Taylor Sheridan was behind Yellowstone, that series. I've not watched it, but I've heard good things about it anyway. So, anyway, they're developing the COD movie. Is it going to be any good? I guess it depends what story they follow, really. Look, I'd like to see them do it on the Black Ops 1 campaign story, make that into a film. Spectacular. But I don't know if they're going to do that. Time will tell. These, according to the league, are the CDL teams of next season. Now, I'm a little bit confused about this because I'm expecting at least one of these teams to change it up, and maybe they still will, but the COD League say, a new era for some, familiar faces for others, here are your 12 teams. So, Boston Breach are going to stay, after all. For the last couple of years, we thought they could be out the door. Ravens, they could have ended up as the Carolina Space Stations, but that didn't happen because Space Station Gaming were not willing to come in if they couldn't rebrand because the deadline or whatever the case is. Cloud9 New York we had last year. FaZe Vegas, as it is now, no more Atlanta, despite the fact that it's going to be an Atlanta event this season. G2 Minnesota. Then kind of the elephant in the room, right? Why is this hooded figure of Los Angeles Guerrillas still here? Like, they've not been here for a couple of years. Last year, unfortunately, they had to combine the branding because Gentlemates came in. They couldn't change things around in terms of it was still Los Angeles Guerrillas mate. And on what the COD League have put out yesterday, it's still there. Now, I believe, certainly I hope, this is just because they've not announced the Switch yet. And hopefully they will in the very near future. I'm pretty sure they're doing it. I mean, I might be wrong, might be mistaken, but surely not, right? Like, Gentlemates, surely one of their primary goals for this entire season has been to make absolutely sure that when it comes time, the off-season happens, it's time to switch things up for the new year, they definitely change their branding. As of yet, that's not happened, but also as of yet, they've not even confirmed their roster, right? So I imagine they might look to do both things at a similar time. So when eventually they do announce Sib, Ghosty, Envoy, and Neptune, which I think they were meant to do, I don't know, there was talk about them doing it around about Halloween. We'll see when they do confirm it. I'm sure eventually it'll happen. Hopefully at the same time they say, all right, this year we are Gentlemates or we've gone to Paris or whatever. Hopefully that's what's happening. LA Thieves, Miami Heretics, OpTic Texas, Falcons of course now in Riyadh, we'll discuss them, Toronto, Koi Ultra is dead, Vancouver Surge. So yeah, those are your 12 teams, and of course very notably every single one of them is different at least in some way to what's happened when the CDL first began. So yeah, now Guerrillas, I'm pretty sure they are going to rebrand. I don't want to call them Guerrillas anymore. We'll see. This guy says, yes, it's still happening. It'll be announced soon. This guy, well, Gentlemates fan, I'm guessing, says, yeah, esports enthusiast, hashtag M8, we're not announced yet, mid to the end of November, waiting for the keynotes to announce. So actually, yeah, it's going to be a little while away. So that's the rumor anyway. Give it a couple of weeks. We might get that confirmation. We might not. Couple of other roster things, probably the big one really here, although Defrag's looking to potentially make a return as well, is Priester, because Priester tweeted this out at the end of July. I think he retweeted it a few days ago. It's not happened for him, right? There was maybe a couple of opportunities. There was even some talk that, Ravens might think about going down the, bringing Priester in and stuff like this. That doesn't appear to be what they've decided to do, but still time will probably tell. Again, it just adds to the list of players who are grinding in challenges for the new season. Priester's had a difficult couple of years since winning the World Championship. I think the same is probably true for Skies to a slightly different extent. Skies, of course, still in the league next year, we think, on G2 Minnesota, as they are now known. But Priest will be starting down in challenges. just adds to the list of great players that, you know, maybe you could argue wants great players, but I still think Priest has got something left in the tank. I think it just depends what teammates he ends up getting. It's always difficult to earn your spot back in the league at the best of times, let alone when you've got a ton of new Halo players coming over. You've got, I mean, I didn't even mention it yesterday, but we've got Shifty and Blast coming in from Warzone. You know, maybe they make noise, maybe they won't. You've got other guys like Aqua and Donny Temp and John coming back into the fray. There's all sorts going on in challenges next year. We will see where Priest ends up. But the first couple of months of challenges are going to be fire because some of the pro teams are probably going to suck. Like, I don't hate the way that these rosters are built this year. In some sense, I think it could be better than some years we've had. But there's always some teams that are underwhelming and always some teams that are immediately looking to challenges within the first couple of months. They're trying to find the best players. You've got to be in that position, right? That gives you your best chance. Couple of clips I wanted to share here on FormaL as well. So he sat down with the OpTic guys, did a bit of a podcast, of course, after the horrific, from FormaL's perspective, Grand Finals defeat at the Halo World Championship. Again, FormaL even did go on to say that, look, for many people, making 4 consecutive World Championship Grand Finals would be a great accomplishment. But, you know, for FormaL, obviously, it's rough, right? Losing 3 in a row on the bounce to potentially close out his career. Again, he's not made it 100% clear either way what exactly his plans are going to be going forwards. FormaL would never want to go out like this. I mean, what's he going to do next year? He's going to say, all right, well, I'll run it back as long as you keep me Renegade and you get me, I don't know, Cycle and Last Shot over from the team that eventually won champs. That's probably not going to happen, but I don't think FormaL's 100% sure either way, especially because if he does step away again, he knows himself that he will want to compete in something at some point. So it could be a short-term stint on the watch party. There's also some questions what it means for the watch party. Of course, they turn around the guests, but, you know, effectively right now it's Scump and Zinni's show kind of thing. You know, they were pretty much always there. Sometimes they would have FormaL on as an occasional guest. Of course, Money B, Hector, Karma occasionally when the, you know, push came to shove. But it would be cool to have FormaL part of the show as well. Wonder what that would mean. Like, just, you know, would Scump and FormaL now become like the main duo? And then, I mean, like, Zinni's always going to be there, right? But I know there's been some talk about it, right? In terms of what that would mean. So I'll share those couple of clips in a second, in addition to one on the Falcons. So they confirmed their new jersey the other day. They're like pro kit for the upcoming season, what they're working with. The Falcons are one of the more controversial teams next year because it's actually quite difficult to, I think, to place them really, even in the power rankings. They're not considered to be top 6 by many. I think most people are considering, okay, OpTic, Thieves, FaZe, probably want to throw Miami into the ballpark as well. Then Gentlemates and Toronto, right? Those are probably the other teams to consider. But where do you put Falcons? Because they've got Celium, they've got Pred, absolute top tier players on their day. Then they've got Kismet, who, I mean, look, he won the World Championship not that long ago and was the best player in that Grand Finals. Since then, he's been good, but, you know, there was some criticism thrown his way last year. And, of course, that team last season on the Gentlemates Los Angeles, whatever, like, it just didn't really go to plan. And then Xnid, who's proven that he can shoot to a certain extent, and that's what ZooMaa's saying in a second. But obviously, Falcons had a horrific season last time out. So ZooMaa's talking about this roster and talks a little bit about the gun skill of the team and reckons that Xnid is top 2 in gun skill. Do we agree or do we not?
Where's your head at? Let's get the juicy questions out. Where's your head at?
Where do you want it to be at?
I mean, first and foremost, I want you to do what you want. I want you to be happy at the end of the day, but my selfish side would love another member on the watch party, especially one with your COD prowess and your entertainment value.
You are a very funny dude. Good looking. You know it all.
I mean, look at you, man. You're a natural.
I think I placed out of the. I think I played on every Sunday except for one, and went to every finals of champs. Like had a potential, you know, to like win every single champs, and it was. I mean, I had really good positions every event, like really good chance to win, and just didn't most of the time, which was AIDS as fuck. But to anyone else, that would be like a great accomplishment. Like making champs every event would be a great accomplishment. And that's just gonna haunt me forever. Yeah. Like it's not like an accomplishment for me. You know, it's like something I'm gonna look back on and be like, dude, I could have won that, could have won that. Yeah. Like what if we did this? Like it's just like it sucks. Yeah. It actually just sucks.
This past
what did I say? He's literally the worst one. Cap. I think talent-wise, bro, he might be top 2. He might be top 2, bro. Talent-wise. He might be top 2. You know what I'm saying? Are we watching the same POV? Are we watching the same POV, guys? Are we watching the same fucking POV or no? Insane POV. Then who is the worst? I don't know, because are you talking about straight mechanical talent records? Wait, you guys think mechanically? Guys, I'm not talking about anything other than his gun skill. Like this guy said stats, G-Dub, I don't think some of you guys are listening to what I'm saying. I don't think you guys are listening to what I'm saying. I'm talking about gun skill only. Gun skill only. He's top 2. He's top 2, chap. Gun skill, it's him and MC. Gun skill only. I think when you put everything together, then, I think that's where he probably hurts. I think that's where he hurts.
So this is an interesting and a relatively nuanced debate in terms of what we mean by gun skill exactly. In terms of just raw aim on the controller, I think really that's what ZooMaa's getting at. The idea, I guess, being that, okay, in his opinion, Cellium's going to be number 1 in that conversation on the team, and understandably so. I think the debate really is around Pred and even Kismet, to be honest, right? I mean, okay, you might say Kismet's the weakest from that perspective, but, Kismet can still shoot. Obviously, all of these guys can shoot to a certain extent, but I don't know, people are saying, it's disrespectful to Pred, it's disrespectful to Kismet. And, if it's disrespectful to Pred, I also think it's kind of disrespectful to Kismet as a world champion. But I think that's an argument you could put out as well. I mean, at the end of the day, there's 3 world champions on that team. Xnid was, he was impressive for a time. He wasn't as impressive as Kix was right at the start of the season. Some of his cards were, not great. At the end of the day, we know that these cards are based, once it loads, on KD being not a factor, right? So his KD is actually fine for his role, but this was his last year's overall card, a 4 in 30 record. The kills pretend, the damage pretend wasn't especially good, right? So obviously that doesn't paint the entire picture. I found out a couple of clips of Xnid here from last season, such as this one when, you can tell he's got that kind of cracked out aiming style that works pretty well. But I also think that, okay, Pred might not be considered to have amazing gun skill because people often think about the way that Pred gets his kills is through his movement, through his decision making, through laying down in corners and stuff. But when you've been, in Pred's case, an absolute top tier championship winning MVP level SMG, you don't get there without phenomenal gun skill, right? So, in my opinion, Pred has to be clear, I think. And it depends, I guess, exactly what you consider to be gun skill. I think gun skill is a little bit more than just what you do with the right stick. I think there's a little bit about how you approach the game as well. But yeah, I don't know. Tweet your thoughts in the comments below. I don't think ZooMaa's being disrespectful or trying to be disrespectful or anything like that. I think he's just trying to give some credit to Xnid to say, look, he's deserving of his spot on that team. I think we'll see in a few months what the Falcons think about that, because they went from a full Saudi team, Kix then went back home, Xnid stays. Clearly Xnid is part of their future plans, but I guess it depends on what their results are the upcoming season when compared to their expectations midway through the year. Because last year, I think everyone pretty much expected if Falcons don't have a good time until Major 3, Major 2, Major 3, they're probably going to blow it up. That, of course, is exactly what they did. So maybe a similar story this time around. The full roster, if I just rewind for 1 second, it's actually pretty funny. I don't exactly know what's going on now on the Breaking Point website, but Arcetes is still featured under the Falcons. I know that some of you guys pointed out that Crimsix is somehow here under OpTic, so I don't really know why that's the case. We'll get it dealt with. I think if I go to FaZe as well, you'll see Crowder's here. And then I think Thieves have Octane on their team. Yeah, here we go. So Octane somehow is appearing as a Thieves player. Probably get that resolved. But Cellium, Xnid, Kismet, Pred, that's your team of 4. I think they are quite difficult to place. They'll probably be pretty at the middle of the road. I think they're a team with a high ceiling and a low floor. I think that's the way that I'd look at it. But in Twitter, your thoughts in the comments. Speaking of Cellium, just one final interesting stat. Highest control KD every year. So we've had 6 seasons of control. It's now gone. Look, maybe it comes back at some point. But for now, it's out the door. Simp was the top player in control in Black Ops 4 and Cold War. Dashy for a year in Vanguard. Since then, it's been all Cellium. So wonder how that will transfer, right? Because control is a mode where kills do matter. In Overload, that is going to be less relevant. So is it going to affect which teams are good or bad? I think it's not going to make a huge amount of difference. but it's certainly something to think about. So very much enjoyed to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.